electronically records all the inspections and information that our airport reporting officers would inspect and deal with on a daily basis at the airport. It's also a very good system to record that type of information if we ever have an incident as well. So we had some updates in regards also to our capital works project. So, and no doubt our manager will provide us an update on some of these things in the departmental report today. So nothing really out of the ordinary, and the minutes are there for councillors' information and interest.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Councillor, any questions there? Councillor Roll.
Just on the operation of this airport reporting inspection system, you pay a subscription per year, I believe, is that right? But the increase, the increase in subscription, is that per year?
So yes, so we pay an annual subscription to it. It's managed and taken care of centrally, and we basically use the program almost like that.
Okay. I suppose that increases the, you're saying, so it's nearly twice the subscription. What is the increase in functionality?
So the addition of the biggest increase in functionality would be that we will be able to track. So I guess there's two things. The first one is we'll be able to track things and look at them or go back and get them later under different more granular forms. So currently they say we've done an inspection. What that will do is there's another module where you can break your airfield up into little bits and they actually make the report not in general, but as to specific things. So I can pick up this particular asset and look at that asset. The second thing that it'll be able to do is, because things can now be more granular, I can make up check sheets. So as an example, currently our IROs go in the morning and they've got a long sheet and they do just all on one. What I can do then is I can say get the IROs to come in a bit later, or not work until 10 at night, so they're the last week of leave. I can do a system call out, and because security has to be there until the last day, effectively when they shut down, I can get them to do the close up and I can get them to do the morning opening. They have to be there anyway, so I don't have to pay them all. Where if our staff comes in, then sometimes they said, like last night there, I think they had their goodbye only at about 10 p.m. So last night they would have been able to go home and say 7 p.m. because they are the ones that have access to the system. So yes, you are right. It is a lot of money on addition, and that's why I haven't put forward that we actually do it. I just want everyone to know that there is this functionality there, and we are thinking about it. But it's kind of marginal, I guess, at this point. We're working with the vendors to basically tell them for this amount of money it might actually not go down. You're going to have to sharpen the pencil a little bit. So we're in those discussions. Councillors, correct. It is a lot of money, and they've obviously priced it to go, well, we won't be. So
I suppose also, Councillor Roll, this is an efficiency initiative at the airport. This was all manually dealt with before. This greatly helps us to provide the evidence to the regulators when they come in and do their audits as well. So even though that may seem like a significant cost, I think the cost of the program in itself is offset in regards to the efficiency it brings to the airport.
Well, that's
just through the chair, will it save that much in wages, do you think, like the extra $4,000? Or?
I don't think it will save in wages, Council, but it adds value then to the duties that the airport reporting officers are doing in regards to not the manual paper having to do those things. And we want them out doing the inspections of the airports and all those really important things that they need to do. So no, I don't think it translates into savings in wages, but allows them to undertake other duties.
Yeah, just sort of save a bit of time.
Yeah.
well, it does, and it'll keep. I mean, you then have records, don't you, all?
I have live records. I can tell you how many birds I saw this morning, which sounds like a bizarre thing to know, but you can literally not just go back but see workload, where's the issues of the day, and it keeps it. General manager is completely correct in that it takes us away from paperwork. In the past, someone would have to go out, make notes, come back, transpose that onto paper. The paper would go to the coordinator. The coordinator would go through it, look at trends going backwards, and then in the end make a report and then create a to-do list for, let's say they saw a broken light or something. That would then have to be filed, actioned. Now, while the guys are out there, they go, windsock torn. Currently, that needs to be actioned. One of the functionality of the standards, the Mercedes or the Rolls-Royce system, is that when the moment they say windsock turn, it sends a mail to the maintenance guy and he goes up, better get out there. Where in the past, our turnaround time was a day or two. We currently got our turnaround time down to with most stuff within a day or so, and we're looking to get things dealt with as we find them, which means that the rest of the day we've got a bit more time to do other things.
Solomon, just a quick one. The CASA audit results at the time of these minutes were due back in about 2 weeks. Have you got them back yet, or?
Frustratingly, unfortunately not. We know that the report's been written. We know that we will get some non-compliances. We don't know what they are yet. CASA has an internal review process and is currently going through that. We do know that we're getting those safety alerts, which is the real non-compliances. So we will.
Thank you. Thank you, Solomon. Any other questions while it's on the speed?
I was just going to make a comment to say well done to be progressing the initiative around the login page and the free Wi-Fi to try and capture data.
Yeah.
I think that's important, and we really, anywhere that we are providing free Wi-Fi, I think it's, if we're not doing it, it's an opportunity to get a little bit of profile and information.
Absolutely, Councillor Daniels, and I mean that's something that's been on my mind in terms of master planning around there, and you know, anything, you know, any investment in that space, it's just so good to know who's coming through, what their demographic is, just to have it, you know, have that data to understand a little bit more who the users of the airport are. I think that helps us build any case for whatever we might do there in the future. We understand some of those patterns and trends. So yeah, excellent. Councillor Daniels.
Just through the chair, thank you, Councillor Daniels, but we are a bit behind in progressing that initiative, but thank you for your comments. However, it has taken us some time. Initially, we were working with our security people to see how we might be able to capture that information. We've taken a slightly different track in regards to some information that actually came from our development corporation in regards to potential then the monitoring of, not the monitoring, but data that we can get from mobile phones and locations. So we've changed our direction in that regard to get perhaps more purposeful information.
And are you still progressing the bespoke landing page from or South Western Wales or Total Field Solutions?
Perhaps you might like to come down and finish your next time.
Warm that seat up, Solomon. Just as you've got heading
My question's on if you're still progressing the bespoke landing page from South Western Wireless, which is now Total Field Solutions.
Yes, there's some issues, technology issues there. We understand that the company have undergone some ownership changes, and the new guys might not quite be as, we haven't found them that responsive. However, we do have a plan B that might actually be better. I'll share the Telstra. We're currently in discussions with Telstra, and I know this is an airport discussion that's actually got application wider. Telstra, through our phones, they know your demographic, they know where you live, all of that, and they can track you as you move through their towers. So we're currently talking with Telstra, and we've set up a spec, and they're busy getting seeing if they can get the data for us. so that we can say at the airport, but not just necessarily at the airport, it might be for the entire town, how many people from postcodes outside of Emerald are currently standing inside the terminal or in town for that matter, and how many Emeraldians are there outside, so currently in Tamworth, picking a name. So we haven't given up on it, it's just we're still trying to figure out what is the best way. The Telstra way will give us better data. From my generation, I'm not on Bluetooth, I don't fill in these forms, I've got a data pack, so I don't hop on free Wi-Fi, so the demographic you get is statistically skewed. You are likely to get younger kids and those kind of guys that need free Wi-Fi. What we actually need is to ask people grown-ups. So the Telstra might actually be a better solution in the end. So that one we're having trouble, but we've got to.
Yeah, sounds like it is.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good stuff, Solomon. That does sound like a better way to go, and that's what they're doing out west. They've got those nodes set up everywhere, and they're doing that data capture just through Telstra, which will be pretty interesting.
Big data is the way to go.
It is.
Very good. Thank you very much. If there's no further questions on that one, I'll just have someone move that we received. And those minutes moved, Councillor Daniels, seconded, Councillor Roll, all in favour? Carried. So at least I'm MLD Board Advisory Committee minutes done. So we slip into departmental updates, and Solomon's running away. Solomon, put a recall notice out on you.
There's some blue on the cheek.
There's something you don't want to tell us today, Solomon. But I'll hand straight back to Michelle Rhodes to step us through these. There's quite a few contributors to this particular report, but I'll put you the leads through.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll just hand immediately over to Solomon to provide the airport update, and then I'll chip back in with the rest of the businesses.
Thank you. Councillors, the airport, there are obviously a few things happening at the airport. Earlier we had to report noting that our income is stable, our car parking is lagging slightly behind. We're investigating that. From an operational point of view, everything is well. We had our ATO, our annual technical inspection. We had our audits. In general, those came back all very well done. We're currently doing a lot of work at the aerodromes, Dingo, Doringa, Capella, Spencer and Ralston, to make sure that they are compliant. From a maintenance point of view on the airport itself, we've just finished painting, putting line marking down. We redid a number of the markings. We've also done a lot of surveying work in anticipation of the project, the bigger runway project at the end of the year. So from that point of view, we are well on our way there. There are a couple of other smaller capital projects that we are busy progressing. So those are coming along well too. Things such as fencing, lighting, those types of, smaller type of projects. We've also had engagement longer with a view to progressing the projects we haven't started with. We know, as an example, everyone know that we're getting new screening machines. That's going to have an impact on the building, so we're working hard at that. From workers, the number of staff we have, a point of view, we're fully stocked up on that. The rosters are working well. We've had a number of meetings in the months with the service providers at the airport. We've had some good feedback from them in terms of little things we can do to make their lives easier, and I'm happy to talk about that. And then, yes, finally, from a from a fees and charges and a budget point of view. We're currently working on that too, so that we can bring that to you in the near future. The report has some detailed actions in it. I'm happy to take questions on that. I think from a high level, that's what we're busy with, and that's what's happening.
So would the change in parking time have an effect on the reduction in parking fees?
Absolutely. We are quite lucky in that it has not had a larger effect. If memory serves, we are I think we're quite significantly under budget there. But yes, because most people stay for just a little, and then the longer you stay, the fewer people you have that stay longer and longer. So yes, it would make a big difference. There's something in the numbers also I'm not happy with, and I've done a bit of a deep dive in that. I'm still to discuss with Michelle what we found there, but there's some service-related issues there too that we can make changes to.
So just a quick one. You spoke to us previously in relation to the smaller airports and just trying to capture some data about users and so on. So what technology did you end up running with to sort of?
Low technology. So we, at the time, what the idea was is that as a pilot comes in, they have to make a call. So the idea was if we record their calls, just like we do at Emerald, and then later we can go back and just, there won't be that many of them, just go listen to them, who they are and what they were doing. However, that ended up being quite expensive. There's no masts out there to put radio towers on and all of that. So currently it's very low. So we're having signs made, and it'll basically be a glorified sign here, please, with a little message that just says, we require your assistance. We want a data capture, if you wouldn't mind just jotting down the date who you were and the purpose of your visit to our fine establishment, where you can assist us in managing it. So very low technology currently. It won't cost just a couple of $100 currently.
So, Chair, isn't there, because as you say, they have to sign in and they have to, every plane has to submit a flight plan. So can't we get it from who do you submit your flight plan to?
Generally general aviation are not that. There isn't necessarily a flight plan for every flight, so we can do that. Our risk is that if we come to you in 6 months' time and say only 4 people have landed, we'd like to have that discussion to our data having a big degree of certainty around it, rather than I didn't do this and we might. So we were looking for a way to capture everyone, even those incidental problems where someone had to unexpectedly stop. So the locals perhaps going to the Caltex and then go and using the aircraft, looking to capture everyone. It's good points the councillor raises, but we thought that the sign in as you leave would be to capture everyone regardless of whether the flight was planned or not.
It's interesting. I was up at Springshaw Strip last week and a plane came in and a couple that actually fly from, I think it's Ayr to Tamworth where they live, but they do that trip and they always stop at Springshaw. Stop at Springshaw for lunch, and sometimes they walk down the street, sometimes they get a lift, like I was there, so they got a lift, that sort of thing. So, yeah, there are trips that
You just don't know who might be using them.
who might be using them, that's right.
It would be very interesting. I suspect that we'll probably have to leave it for a little while, so we go through a complete season, and maybe plants need to get ag sprayed and then the croppers come in, and so we'll have to give it a bit of time.
Yeah, so. Thank you. Simon, just while you're there, maybe you could just briefly touch on the discussions with Queensland Ambulance in regards to Springshire. And
Yes.
when some that was removed, etc.
That's good.
I would appreciate an update. Yeah.
So the windsock, unfortunately, I don't have my laptop here now. I was busy looking at, I can go fetch it. There was about, from a regulatory point of view, the windsock has certain implications. So as an example, the fact that it's lit tells pilots that the infrastructure at the airport looks a certain way, and it's not. So there's about 6 or 7 things wrong that made us non-compliant with the windsock. However, we had chats with, we made contact with the ambulance guys at Springshire, Philip Brosnan, if I'm not mistaken. We had discussions with them. They actually don't just want a lit windsock. They want what's called a helicopter landing area. It's a place where in bad weather you can almost fly on GPS there. You know it's clear, it's clean, what you can do. That doesn't have to be at the airport. It can be, as an example, next to the hospital. So we went back to look for the specs to say, this is what you guys need. That's currently with them. They got that last week. I believe the lady that runs it there, his name is Linda. She's currently on holiday. She's back next week. So they undertook to get back to us early next week to go, yes, this is what we want. Then what we'll do is we'll go there and find with them a place where we can put it. And if they're happy with the place, we can put it. And then what we'll do is we'll see what we can do to establish that. So that's where we currently are.
Councillor Nixon?
Just, yeah, through the chair, I spoke before about this, and I know the ambulance, Linda Warriner was the lady that brought it to my attention that the helicopter used that beacon light, and while it has been explained to me that that beacon light indicates that the strip's lit, which I think is nonsense because you can't land a plane in Springshire at night. But anyway, it was only for the helicopter. But just getting back to the issue of where you put a helicopter landing site, I think that there's not just the QAS that need the helicopter, because we've had search and rescue people there. We've had people evacuated from Emerald there by helicopter. There's a lot of helicopters that use there, and as you know, the mountains, we've had numerous people trapped on the mountain at the search and rescue helicopter, plus we have private helicopters. So I think probably like getting a proper helipad would be ideal, but I just think that it's better service if it's not near the hospital, that it's up at the airstrip so that everybody has use of it, rather than restrict it just to the ambulance. I know they've got to move the patient a little bit further to get to it, but when you consider everybody in the community, I think that it's better serviced outside that hospital precinct, plus the fact that the hospital did have plans previously to extend nurses' quarters and car parking areas, so I think that that needed to be spoken, to Queensland Health about that as well, and they probably, might or might not say yes, but I really think it'd be more serviceable up at the airstrip. And just talking to Solomon before was that Rolleston also needs a helicopter landing pad. They have, they don't get as much QAS, but they get a lot of search and rescue people out there with the Carnarvons. So I think that, like, for economy of scale, it'd be great if we could have 2. One in Springshire and one in Rolleston. Now, I couldn't get any cost
We
this
do have a
morning.
pretty crude one at the SES shed.
Yeah, but just behind the SES shed is ideal in Rolleston, because that's where the first responders, take people, and there's room set up there for people, to be assessed and everything. So the ideal situation there is right behind the SES shed, and there's room there, council own the land. So I think that if we can forge ahead, but I wouldn't like to see this, held off for years to come. I'd like to see it happen ASAP. So I just would probably even like to move a resolution that we go in and get costings at this stage. So I think that needs to be done. We need to take that first step. And like the aerial ambulance flying to Springshaw on a really regular basis, because the plane can't land there at night. So we've had the plane in, I think we've had it twice in the last fortnight. We fly a lot of people out of Springshaw because just haven't got the capacity to look after people badly injured in that hospital. So I think that we really need to get onto that fairly quickly.
Thank you, Councillor, for your comments, and I'm aware that Solomon is also working with Glenn Bell as reference and he's liaising with him as well. And Solomon's work certainly was progressing for costings of Springshaw, but we will pick up now in regards to Ralston as well in preparation to put forward. I would think we should be in a position to forward something for budget, I would think.
Yes.
But I'm not sure also whether there are any opportunities coming up with our local mining company there currently as well, where maybe we may be able to have conversation in regards to whether there's any funding they may be able to assist council with as well.
I'm sure they'd be able to please to help.
Well, there's two mining companies really.
Would you second that? If I might move a resolution that we get costings on just both of those, please?
I just thought of something else. We had a situation only in the last few days, this last week, where an actual private helicopter took an injured person to town. So if the helicopter pad was at the back of a hospital, are they allowed to land there?
Well, that's what Councillor Nixon was
Yeah, I was saying,
saying.
so it's happened in the last week. I'm finding out that just way out. So, we better, I think, get costings, but we better be sure about where we're going to put it.
In our discussions with the Springshaw ambulance people, they did say, could we have it here, could we have it there, there's a park there somewhere. In the end, they did indicate that at the Springshaw aerodrome is probably the best place for it, especially if for whatever reason the helicopter is needed in the day, they can meet the RFDS there, depending, one never knows what's going to happen. The point was just that it can be, it doesn't have to be, it's not like an airport, it can be made anywhere. The point Councillor Nixon made this morning about, well, if this is true for Springshaw, why not for Ralston, I think is a very, very valid one. So we'll go get the costings and report back. And,
So I'll move that.
Yeah, and you want to put in, well, I think we get the costings and then we might do the next step.
Well, it seems clear that the actual where it's going to be is in motion. So whether we have any influence over that, I don't know.
I think so. Have you got that, Lisa? We've got moved Councillor Nixon, second Councillor Roll, that we go ahead and get some costings on, that appropriate infrastructure site to be determined for Springshaw and Ralston. So is everyone in favour of that? Yep, that's carried. Once we get that back, I think the next move would be then to engage, look at how we might fund it, and that might mean some conversations with particular mining companies in the vicinity that have a big workforce. I think that's really, that'll be good work to do. Thank you, Solomon. All right, well, we better keep moving here. So that's the airport. Time is escaping. Solomon, thank you as always. It's always refreshing to have your insights in the boardroom. So we'll move straight on to Florrie, Michelle.
Thank you. So I'll just hit the high points. I'll take the report as read, councillors. So the quarry, certainly on track and certainly on track for in excess of budget this financial year. Probably talk more about that in the confidential session with council. You commerciality of the business. We're certainly on track in regards to the capital projects at the quarry. The pug mill's been completed and the electrical bus tie was to be connected over the Christmas break, etc. So that's to save money in regards to electricity costs. The pre-code area has now been, we have detailed design, so costing is being undertaken in regards to the re-establishment of that work, and the ongoing work in regards to construction of the stormwater runoff control areas. Any questions in the quarry?
Councillor
Through the chair, just, are we advertising, you know, the prices of our crushed metals and things? Are we actually marketing ourselves at all up there?
We don't advertise our prices because they're not always fixed, councillor, so it will depend upon the volumes, it will depend upon a number of things.
Yeah,
so
what you negotiate, but
yeah,
yeah, I think, like, there should be some marketing. Well, I know that, like, the costing, we rang up the other day to get costings, and they're fairly reasonable, compared with every other quarry around, and I just thought, well, we don't market ourselves. We don't even say it's available there, regardless of cost. We don't put it out there to say, well, you know, we've got this, nice Shepton quarry up there, and, you know, want people to use it. I just think that a little bit of marketing wouldn't go astray. So,
Sponsor the last day.
sorry?
Sponsor the last day.
maybe we could have more of a conversation when we talk later.
Yeah, I just think marketing is something.
Yeah, no, but point taken, councillor.
Thanks, Councillor Nixon. The housing council,
So yeah, business as usual, back following the break over the Christmas break. Good sale of around 3,000 head on the 24th of January. So comments here about, you know, continued drought conditions, etc. So that will change in some areas where cattle come from us. So to what impact that will have on the sale yards at this present time, I'm not quite sure. But capital works continuing. We're getting good cattle that are spelling overnight, so that is also assisting to increase revenue levels at sale yards. It also is in excess of budget at this present time. So the capital works projects, yes, are progressing quite well. We're waiting announcement in regards to funding submissions for the hay shed, dump ramp, and also the spelling yards. We're hoping that there'll be some announcement in the next week or so. Work in regards to the light pole replacement is expected to be completed in February. The additional work that they've done in regards to over the break, water troughs, sees now that those 28 additional spelling pins are completely functional now for the business, as well as there were 5 cattle troughs commissioned within delivery pins as well, so all of that increasing the capacity at the sale yards. Any questions from sale yards, councillors?
Only a comment, Chair, that ProWay, the drafting, and Tim has had the company there over the break and working on the points of contact for drafting gates and things, and there's been quite a change made, which is good, because we have had a couple of incidences with cattle hitting gates and things. Yeah. So they've tidied that up, and it's all working really well. So and over the last sales before Christmas, they've worked out where on walkways and things where points are where, you know, need to change or add walkways to that club system in the centre. So it's all, it's looking really good now, so, and working really well. The amount of rain that's being had up in the northwest is going to severely impact the number of cattle coming through over the next month or so, because they just can't get here. So, you know, but we can't do anything about that. That's seasonal.
Good thing, isn't it?
That's what happens. Yeah. So for the year, the numbers were looking really good, and now, of course, it might just drop off. So that's what happens.
Who knows what? Look, it's a desperate situation in terms of, our own region. I think a lot of people this next month, it's going to be critical, whether, people keep their stock or offload. There's nowhere for us to go and CQ, so.
No, that's right.
We're all dry, so. Looking to the heavens, but anyway, good comment there, Councillor Rolfe, great to see those safety and efficiency improvements out there, good stuff. We probably should, take a look, see out there on the sale day, just to see how it's all working, so.
And the other comment is that the type 2 road train route through to Emerald Hill, we're seeing an increase in cattle, in the number of cattle coming through to Spelling and that sort of thing, so using Emerald Yards, so that's really, really good. Yeah, it's excellent.
So, great comment there, thanks Councillor Rolfe. So we'll keep pushing on. The housing company, Michelle.
Nothing really to report for the housing company. First board meeting for 2019 commences this month. We have, with a bit of a changing, nothing further in regards to the units matter of discussion for the housing company. A bit of a changing of the guard at BMA. We provided some additional information, so nothing further at this point in time. Property services, that small team is getting on with what they need to do, and certainly you can see there in the report in regards to smoke alarms within housing, 125 properties have now been upgraded, and there are further 56 properties which are scheduled. We've improved we're implementing inspection schedules for council properties, and also improving some of the processes associated with community housing as well in regards to tenancy agreements and rent reviews and bond retention, etc., etc. We're also currently reviewing a housing asset management framework that's underway as part of the TOTO implementation. We're pushing the manager of asset management for us to participate, hopefully in some of that funding for the asset management data that's critical for us within housing to schedule the improvements that are needed or the routine maintenance of those things. So that's some critical work for us as well.
Just to comment, that inspection process, needed to be done years ago, really. I mean, it's great to see that that's finally happening. You need that, don't you?
Yeah, agree with you. And, part of that is also about acknowledging a very good tenant to take very good care of their properties. So, well, I have brought the financial details for the housing into the open agenda here because they're not commercial confidence information, so that counts that information is there for you. You can see the cost of providing these facilities to the community, so you'll have that each month. We're progressing on with property and leasing. We're still dealing with that Telstra lease at Doringa. They've wanted an enormous amount of changes, so that's going a bit back and forth at the present time. We're finalising the Horizon lease for the car park, the fenced area at the railway station here that they use for train drivers who are away for a couple of nights. We're progressing the work in regards to the adjustment agreements, and we would hope that work will be completed by the end of this month. We're also progressing the banking facility arrangements at Springshore, and Council will note a tentative date within your calendars for potentially an event, and we can kick off those arrangements there. So Stephen, the Coordinator of Property Services, is just finalising the agreement and logistics in regards to that matter. I'll leave it there, thank you.
Councillor
Can I just ask, adjustment agreement is, which one?
This is, you'll note, Councillor, many months ago we went out to public notice and expressions of interest for adjustment on the council vacant land. So it's working through all those submissions and tidying up that work, because unfortunately we've gone out and put forward properties that are actually not available for adjustment. But
Also the seasonal conditions and the conditions of some of those adjustment agreements
areas needs reviewing. I'll speak to you later about that if that's okay. That was a significant body of work that the new staff have progressed, so we would hope to see that finished by the end of this month.
Very good, Michelle. And note there your activities as well. The one you left off was fulfilling the role of acting CEO last week while Scott was away. So thanks for fulfilling those duties so well. Thanks, Michelle. Any other questions? Right, well, we will have somebody, if you wouldn't mind, moving that we receive those departmental updates from Customer and Commercial Services. January, someone like to move, Councillor Daniels, second
You got
Councillor
to get it around the other way.
Councillor
Roll.
Roll. I can't look at it happened a minute ago, I can't even remember.
Rolf moved and Daniel seconded.
Yeah, we're good.
Isn't that what?
That's good. Yes.
That's good.
Yeah, no, you said
Daniels
first, that's it.
Oh,
No,
right.
you didn't. Oh, you did it.
That was me, not
The
Lisa.
chair's not, the chair's not the.
We're all in favour of it, too. Doesn't matter.
Right, all in favour? God, it's carried, right. And let's see how you roll with this one. Thanks very much, Michelle, as always. Departmental updates, infrastructure and utilities. Gerard Gerbeau.
Through the chair, councillors, a bit of a mixed bag of lollies here, a couple of my reports mixed in with the rest, so I'm just going to pick up on his infrastructure ones. Peter Manning on his water, and I'll talk to the National Freight and Supply Chain Strategy and inquiry into transport technology, and pick up all the last three, the emergency sirens, resilience and guardian.
Good morning, councillors. Through the chair, take the report as read, and I'll just touch on a few of the high points. The first is a capital update. There's not a significant change from 2 weeks ago when we met. So those projects are all continuing, and the spreadsheet at the back has been updated for individual projects. With regard to Works for Queensland, that was part of the discussion at the last infrastructure committee. I was just doing a breakdown there of where our projects are at. We're tracking well with our Works for Queensland stuff. The Claremont Street, Barilla Street footpath, stage 2, that contract's been awarded and will commence shortly. There's some consultation underway with that one. The two in Springshore and Ralston have been complete. It's the bus shelter and the footpath rehabilitation. Common drainage has been surveyed. We have a concept design which we know will work, and we've discussed that with TMR. That's moved on to the detailed design stage and will be constructed May, June. With the consultation coming up there, I thought that would be a timely reminder about that one. The project on Edmonton Street, which is roundabout down the end there, it was completed. And the Central Highlands Rural Addressing signage installation, so that's ongoing as well. So we're working with a consultant to establish that our road centre lines are correct. We've had some issues with there in terms of two different roads, same road, but starting at a different point and meeting in the middle. So there's some corrections around those sort of things. Once that's complete, we have a baseline set. There'll obviously need to be some communication and consultation with affected property owners that may have their rural number changed, but we're hoping that'll be limited. Do you want to touch on yours, Gerard, or do you want me to
Just skip over all the others.
Just through the chair, could I just ask a few questions? With the Springshore Cliff Street, a couple of years ago, we went and had a council meeting there and looked at actually doing the footpath up to a couple of the shops and ramping and things like that. Has that ever been considered? It just seems we're putting money into that footpath without looking at the big picture stuff. And, you know, getting a design done for ramping up so that there's disabled access to a lot of those shops that are existing.
I'll take that. Through the chair, councillor, just had our kick-off meeting with our beautification consultant. It sounds strange. But the consultant looking at beautification concepts for all the towns.
Yep.
As part of our capex, and the brief is clear. That is one of the principal challenges, is to bring us all the, how we planning to deal with all those DA access issues. We weren't willing to do it piecemeal. We could have just done it one at a time. I think this is the opportunity to really nut it out and say, this is the shops, this is the treatments, and go through that process.
Yeah, it's only that one block really in Eclipse Street, but yeah, it's just something I'd just like to keep flagging, because otherwise it'll slip by and I'll have to tip you out of that wheelchair next time.
No, the CEO is keeping me honest on that issue, but yes, the current consultants that's been engaged, who were in the back of the room yesterday, they have a clear brief, and through the community consultation stage of the planning, we'll hopefully start seeing
Very good.
outcomes.
Thank you, Councillor Nixon, you're probably still having nightmares from that time that I put you in a wheelchair and pushed you up Cliff Street and did a trial run.
I'm still limping.
And I mean, that's what we did. We put each other in these sorts of devices and had to go getting around. And poor old Councillor Nixon, she really had to come up for a couple of times there. So, yeah, we certainly know that we can do it better. So.
And the next one I had was Ballard Street and Comet. Is that pothole?
Yeah, the swimming pool, yeah, local school referred to it as the swimming pool, but yeah, so that's to fix that ongoing issue. So
That has been an ongoing issue.
He will be thrilled to see that that's.
Well, I think that when George Famous was here about 9 or 10 years ago, was it, Kerry? We were going to take a wheelbarrow full of gravel down and put in that. Yeah, so that is a long-term one.
yes.
It would be nice to see that really.
You're
So-
Madam Chair, we might then get a request for a replacement of that swimming pool.
We make it a proper swimming pool.
Look, we are, and we're truly, seriously.
Yeah,
I remember Pete Maguire, before he finished up here, he sent an email that actually contained quite a few explicit words to Main Roads to try and get some action on this, and it is unbelievable how long these things take.
Yeah,
And through the chair, this has been funded through Works for Queensland, so it's actually the council,
Mm.
through the state government, doing that work.
Yeah, it just fell on deaf ears for 10 months, unfortunately.
Sorry? Works for Queensland to do a deep TMR work.
Yes.
Yes. Unless we want to wait another 10 years.
It's
Right, working
It's
for
for 20
Queensland.
years.
I have a question.
Councillor Ross.
The work that's been done by NDRRA down in the south of the Shire, so that's Renshaw, Policy between, it's done by contractors. Can you tell me where they're getting their water from?
Councillor, I don't know if Jason would have the answer, but we'll try and get that information back to you.
Because there is no water.
Again, we were very clear with our dealings with contractors that they're not using our water sources. So the point is they would have had to do deals with local property owners, and we wouldn't have to be privy to it. I'll get Kim to provide a informal update to the rest of the councils want to know. So we're just simply do all council response from that.
Thank you.
Did we do?
Yeah, just through the chair, if I could just add to that, obviously water is a significant issue to all of our works at the moment, and we'll continue to until we get rain. So some works are being delayed due to lack of water, some maintenance activities due to lack of water. Even projects are.
Probably get some from Townsville.
I'm ready.
pipeline question.
30%?
All right, that's
I'll skip
good.
over to the Warabinda Government Champion meetings update. So that, Peter and I attended that on the 18th of January. Some of the key points out of that was during Drapers Creek Road, that the CMR advised there is no funding available currently for the sealing of any of that road. An MOU update, we gave an MOU update on the progress of the Warabinda CHRC TMR MOU, which is going well. There's some significant improvements in the capability at Warabinda. So that's still ongoing. The tourism sign, so the tourism sign that's going to be erected is a joint tourism sign on the flashing park in Ringo. So we count CHRC and Warabinda jointly share that sign and can advertise events on that sign. So it's been ordered and will be installed soon. And Minister Furner was there and he had a general discussion about the year of the outback and tourism and promoting that sort of thing. On the back of that, we didn't note, unfortunately, was a discussion around the potential for the Capricorn Highway to be a cultural way from Rockhampton to Longreach. So there could be a push in the near future for a cultural sort of drive tourism route from Rockhampton to Longreach and even further onto Winton. So stopping at places like Blackdown Tableland. Indigenous culture, Park Orden has a lot of things to offer, so that was just thrown on the table as a discussion point in there.
Jason, can you actually say to Winton, please, because otherwise you're going to end up with a gap between Winton and Longreach if you're going to go to Longreach, because the Gunbow Highway one, what's it called? Across the centre,
Yep.
stops at Winton.
Yep.
And so, it's, so
That's
you go
fine.
to Winton.
We can take that through the MOU. The gentleman that presented was one of the elders from Longreach area, so that's why I think he had wanting to connect the coast to Longreach, but he did mention Winton as well. So I guess it's a very early planning stage, but through the MOU we'll try and influence that. TIDS update, at the end of December, the Bowen Basin Regional Road Group was at 47% expenditure, with our two projects there, Warina Road being complete, and the Springshire Tambo, the design is complete. It's being reviewed by TMR, and we'll expect to commence that. So we're hoping around 3 kilometres from the end of the existing seal at Tresville, so about another 3 kilometres there. And again, that's Council TIDS money going to a state-controlled road. Opal Street Park update. So this is in relation to the swimming pool, netball court, tennis court area, and the parking issues there. We've briefed out a master plan encompassing Opal Street, Harris Street, Teresa, and all the way up to Harris Street. Sorry. After some initial consultation with the lease pool leasee and the swimming club, we proposed to do some intermediate sort of fix. So that's removing the trees that are in that centre island and constructing a pedestrian fence along there just as a barrier from Opal Street itself. So just as an interim fix, it's not going to be a significant outlay, and also just realigning the pedestrian crossing to a gap in that fencing. So we're sort of narrowing everyone into the same location rather than it being a bit uncontrolled. So just an interim fix out of our operational budget until the master plan is established.
Good to hear.
So we'll obviously require the removal of those 5 or 6 trees. So that's just, I guess, some consultation might need to be needed around that.
Good, thank you.
I think that's me.
Thank you,
I'll
Jason.
take you back, please, through the chair. I had one more about the rural addressing. We had somebody come here and we were going to be a shared pilot program with, was it Blackall? Tambo Blackall?
Yeah, I do remember something like that.
Well, you probably must have been in the last term of council. They came here and said that they were going to use us as a pilot to do that rural addressing. What happened to that? Are we just doing this on our own?
Through the chair, yes, I don't have any knowledge of that conversation, unfortunately, but yeah, this is just being carried out on our own.
Was the pilot at the time, I would believe was, I'll be blank, Penny Bolter's train, that road going down from Willows to somewhere, there was two signs, was that part of the pilot?
Yeah, sorry, so through the chair, we did a trial out in the Willows, Bogie Tungan area. There was significant errors on those signs, changes were wrong, property names were wrong, so that's why we drew a line in the sand and said, let's come back to this properly, let's establish our centre lines right, and re-roll it out, so.
I'm like you, Councillor Hinton, I was aware of that work. I thought there was a different, and I think it's probably worthwhile checking. Scott, you might for a recollection.
Yeah, because it sounded so
It was an
great,
excellent
going
idea.
to the, adjoining shires, and well, Charlie, you remember that, do you?
Yeah, there was something there, but I know there was, actually was locked in that area.
Yeah,
That was one project, it was done
Oh,
with,
yes.
Wilkinson, I think.
but anyway,
This
yeah,
was-
so obviously we're doing it ourselves now, so, yeah, it's a shame that, opportunity there to get the whole area done. It's like it's
One of the
fine.
engineers working with Mark was doing some work that would have been now working with, from,
Was it Department of County, wasn't it?
yeah, Department, yeah, but doing, work with rural addressing, so.
That was where I was back to the class, that I was not aware of any initiative with Black Hole Tabor at the time. I'll be it would have been before my arrival. The challenge there is that what it was. All I know is we did that one little pilot, and I think that may have been the trial or not.
No, it was
We'll try and get some back.
shy wide, but anyway, gone, it's gone, thank you.
All right, thanks, Councillor Nixon. Nothing further for Jason. We will move on to water utilities.
Good morning, councillors, through the chair. So I just had two items in which were both in response to inquiries from councillors. So the first was just inquiring about leaks being repaired in Springshaw. So that particular week there were three, one of which was a customer leak, one was a service line, and one was a mains break that was reported quite late on the Wednesday afternoon and was fixed the next day. So I'm not sure if there are any other questions you'd like to ask about that one.
No, there was a leak. We were in town on Thursday, and I think there was a significant leak in Springshaw.
That probably was that one fixed on the Thursday.
Was it fixed on the Thursday? Yeah. I thought it had been leaked
I think
for
it
2
was a couple of
days.
days before, yeah, but anyway, I mean, it's fixed.
Those are the ones that I recorded in our system. The guys were down the Wednesday and Thursday repairing.
Yeah, well, that's good. It's just, I think it's just perception in the community when you have a leak that's significant, that's visible by, to the public and they're driving past. And we're all reminding people about water conservation. I think it's.
I was speaking to Peter, I've had leak since too, so, yeah, it's just, we don't seem to have anybody that can fix them there on site immediately, so we're losing some water. But,
Did you have something else?
okay, Chris?
Okay, oh, sorry.
Peter, is there the water from the two tanks?
Yes.
It has got a cooling system on top of it.
No.
Right.
Neither of the two systems, I believe, have the working cooling systems at the moment.
I know, and it happens every summer, but some summers are worse than others, but the heating of, the water, and we've always said that, oh yes, you're going to get hot water out of the cold water tap, whatever, because of old pipes and close to road surfaces and all the rest of it.
And
But is
probably
it-
more deep water.
Sorry,
Probably more that the bores are deeper.
The deep walls.
yeah, that's right, so,
Because that water's warm in the reservoirs.
so
It's hot.
yes. Yeah,
When I stuck my head in there, it seems.
yeah. So cooling systems, is there a,
I would need to come back to you, but from memory, either next year's budget or the year after in our 3-year program, I believe we get that item in, but we're developing budgets as we speak, so
yeah, sure.
I'll see whether we've got that in the program, but that was on the list for reinstating. Cool.
I don't think it's that bad, we need a cooling system, but the strange thing is people were blaming it from being the sun on the pipes and things, but it's hotter at night than it is in the daytime.
Daytime, yeah.
So it is definitely getting that sub-artesian water.
And I must admit, even the place I'm here in Emerald, on a hot summer's day, I get home, turn the cold tap on because the pipes are going through them.
Yeah.
So if we are using sub-artesian water, those western places have got cooling systems. They've got cooling systems. So, Councillor Nixon, if you're saying no, we don't need
Well,
cooling
it depends
systems,
how long it goes.
maybe we do. That's
Just while we're on Springshaw drawdown levels, and I know you rang the other day to say that you actually have those levels now and you'd have to monitor them as we go forward. Just speaking to a couple of people in Springshaw in the last week, they've commented, one person put another 20 feet, old-fashioned, 20 feet on his pump. He had to pull his bore and put another 20 feet down. His said that his has dropped significantly. Another person with a private bore has said his is just kind of pumping a little bit and then stopping. So we need to monitor those drawdown levels fairly closely. I know we've got those deep bores, and that's probably why the water stock, we're using them now more than the shallow bores, but it's just something we need to keep a check on.
Good point.
If it hasn't rained soon.
Oh, well, it can rain, yeah. Would be good.
So that was, the second item here is I've put in the data, the last year of data for the Sapphire bores.
Yeah.
And just as I said in my call here, we last week went through and did the measurements at Springshaw, so we'll monitor those, compare them to the original drill records and see how they're going. But from recollection on those deep ones, the twin tanks were still, while the pump's operating 6 or 8 metres above the pump, and when it's off, it's another
Thanks, Ben.
5 metres or something.
All right, councillors, we might have to leave that one there. I'm conscious of time ticking there. So, Pete, thank you very much for your updates. And that's Gerard, project development contract delivery, quick update.
Yeah, very quickly, I'm not going to go into detail on the National Freight Supply Chain Strategy Industry Focus Group. The critical thing there is this is a very high level Commonwealth Government strategy of the Australian Infrastructure Plan. A lot of numbers and goals and everything else there to see. Freight systems that is safe, secure, efficient, sustainable, reliable, globally competitive, also promotes innovation. I think Councillor McIndoe will give me a couple of thoughts yesterday about innovative ways of moving freight. Would be interested in that. There's 5 goals they wish to achieve. All that came out of that workshop essentially was that the old first and last mile issue for local government is really what it's about. As much as they're talking about national freight, port, rail, all those other means of moving freight around, is the first and last mile issue was quite a significant one. And the other one I wanted to talk to is inquiry to Transport Technology. The CEO's put me onto that one. I did chat to LGAQ, and basically they having a watching brief on that. I thought I'll indulge you with a picture. The way of the future, essentially, yes, we will just continue watching brief. There's no need for us to actively be involved at this stage because the bulk of all this automated vehicle technology and development is happening in the big smoke. In the freight space, obviously, freight is picking up on technology and looking at twofold. There's obviously the logistics side and tracking movements and capturing data. So that movement, that piece of work is happening in the background, but again, we as the local government don't have direct involvement in it. Unless there's questions about.
Just a comment, Chair, that the transport technology, I'll have a roads transport advisory group meeting at the end of this month, and that will be part of, so I'll report back to,
If there's anything,
as I do, yeah.
because Scott basically told me they won't be attending, they're not making submissions, they'll just see what comes out of it.
No, but there will be, because the advisory group is representative of Queensland, there will be certainly some from South East.
Quickly, project delivery, contract delivery on behalf of Kim. Kira's with it today, so she couldn't make it. We're tracking with the Gemfields warning system. Even I'm getting excited that we might see them up by the end of this financial year. I'll touch on this resilience pilot project. I deem that to be a red. There's no nuts and bolts in this yet. It's high level stuff. Maybe back for some more workshopping on governance and high level stuff. It's probably the best word I can use. Yeah, they haven't.
It's just stuff.
I'm waiting to see when we get to ready for the integrated pilot catchment network plan to manage and operate it. That's really where the rubber's going to hit the road. At this stage, it's still being driven by QRA and they're still talking, the big talk, results get done by them saying no, we still accept their money when it comes to flood restoration. And just quickly, for those who were involved with recent events, the Guardian IMS update, I thought just again to reinforce the fact that we are leading local government with this new way of integrating response and information and putting alerts out, etc., etc. We've seen it during the fire event we had before Christmas. So Glenn Bell and his team, we're very much part of the development of this, and I think GIP is now the council, so it is advantageous. I think the mayor's due, the LDMG will probably confirm that he does have merit, and it does make things more efficient in terms of being able to manage during those events. And I believe that's it for us, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Gerard, and Jason and Peter, as always, for your contributions. Councillors, would someone like to move that we receive this infrastructure and utilities department? Move, Councillor Brilliant, seconded, Councillor Mendes, in the right order, all in favour? Confirmed. Councillors, we will quickly just move into general business. Is there anything that anyone is burning? If not, we will go straight into closed session. We've got a couple of items there. One's for decision, one's to do and update. So just arrange the room so
Now we're good.
Alrighty, so welcome back live streamers. We've just got two items from the closed session discussion before us. So the first one relates to the tender panel recommendations in relation to the two-stage procurement process at the Emerald Airport pavement upgrade. Resolutions on the screen there. If you'd like to have- yeah.
Before we put it, do we need to put the names in there?
Just to explain the process, it is similar to tendering. We have to advise successful or
Yeah.
preferred.
I realise that, but does it need to be there in the public document?
Yes, because this is why we bring all our tenders to council nowadays, to be
Yeah,
transparent.
I know that, but that's only a two-stage, they're just selected to go to another stage, aren't they?
No, but they, I'm not a procurement specialist, but I believe in this matter of being transparent. The thing is, those who are successful will then now know who they are, which brings a bit of competitive tension. The flip side of it, the unsuccessful ones will then also know.
But haven't you already notified the people that missed out?
We held off.
Not till this report was before council.
So that I agree with Councillor Nixon on this then, that if you haven't known who's successful and who isn't successful, why are we putting it out there in a public document when you haven't notified the ones that aren't successful, that they're not?
Could we go back to a conversation, councillors, that we had with the start of this term is, unless there's a resolution, we cannot have anybody go off and indicate to a contractor that has been successful. And what I'm trying to get to is official. So the letters is just a formality, but the argument is we doing this for transparency. I would personally love to stop bringing tenders to council, but this was the council's decision.
No, we need them at council, and we need to know at the end, but this is just the next step.
I think,
If you haven't identified to those people that have missed out, that they've missed out, just seems a bit rude.
No, but I'm bringing a tender to the general meeting, which was questioned by the CEO. The point is, on the back of that, we award the tender, and unsuccessful tenderers will then in due course get their letters. We do it all the time, so it's not the first time that unsuccessful people will only be advised after the council determination.
I think there's also an important point there in regards to competition. So we were not they're not aware that they're each competing now with this tender, but they won't know. So I think that's a very good point.
It's not like the price is there, I think,
No.
you know, that's completely inappropriate, but obviously it's a two-stage tender process, this is a part of it. You know, on the next stage, I'm very comfortable with what's there, and I feel like it's in line with what we do with other tenders, so, you know, what's to say there, but, council, are you comfortable with moving that? Yes. All right, move councillor Robb, seconded councillor Brimacombe. All in favour? Carried, thank you. And the second resolution there, councillors, is in relation to the departmental updates. That is for customer and commercial services. Is the resolution there? That be received for the month of January, so moved councillor Brimacombe, seconded councillor Robb, all in favour? Carried. Meeting closed.
I wish you could do that.
10:06, thanks live streamers, not long to
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Community Standing Committee. Before we start, I wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we meet today. I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. The Council, Central Highlands Regional Council, we really pride ourselves on being inclusive, and the Community Standing Committee has a lot of focus on people, heritage and culture, so I think it's appropriate and timely that I include the acknowledgement from now and on into the future throughout our meeting process. I've got everyone present today. Everyone as part of the standing committee is present, so Councillor Brimacombe, Councillor Seifert, Councillor Godwin-Smith, Councillor McIndoe and Councillor Hayes, and no observers. Thank you to the staff who are attending here, and welcome to the live streams as well. As there's no apologies, I'll move on to leave of absence. Any future leave of absence that anyone wishes to know? No, thank you. I will move forward then. So moving on to the confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting. Can everyone please cast their eyes to the previous meeting minutes? Thank you. Can I please have a mover for those minutes? Thank you. Councillor McIndoe, and a seconder. Councillor Brimacombe. There's something I want to raise for those minutes, and it's just in regard to, there was a discussion at the last Community Standing Committee relating to water restrictions, but also the preservation of our, I guess, green assets, being trees, and you know, creating oases around community infrastructure such as park benches or picnic tables. And it wasn't noted in the minutes, and I think it's important enough that we should put a resolution around that. So I just want to make note that in the general business, I will raise that as a resolution and ask for people to consider that resolution then. Is everyone happy that that the copy that's in front of you is a true and correct representation of last meeting? If so, can I please have a show of hands? Thank you. All in favour? Business arising out of the minutes. Does anyone have any business that they would like to raise with the previous minutes? No. Thank you very much. So moving on to review of outstanding meeting actions. Does anyone have anything they would wish to raise with regards to the outstanding actions report? Something that I wanted to raise is there's a number of actions listed this time that relate to the community consultation minutes, and in recent meetings we've had out at the Gemfields, there's been a call for the community consultation minutes to be made available between meetings, and the reason behind that is that there's an interest from people that attend those community meetings to actually hear the answers for each of the questions. And I believe the process to date has been that the person that raises the question at the meeting gets the personal response, but it's the general community that wants to actually understand the response as well. And I'm just looking through this action report, and with some of the responses, I guess, that are listed, and I would question that if they were actually reproduced onto those minutes, whether people could actually understand what has occurred, what was the resolution. So I guess I would ask that any council officers that are providing updates or answering the CRMs that relate to the community consultation are mindful of the fact that that anyone that's reading those minutes should be able to understand from start to the resolution of what has happened. And even for ourselves as councillors, we take these minutes out to the future consultations and then answer to communities based on what actions have occurred in that 12 months. Also, I see in the comments that a lot of the CRMs, it was, 3-4 months after the actual community consultation that the CRM was actually raised. And, I would ask that in future, the staff that are responsible for the minutes can input these CRMs in a more timely manner as well, because I'm sure that the community would expect that things would be actionable a lot quicker than that. So thank you for that. Is there anyone else that wants to mention anything or discuss anything related to the resolutions register? No, that's
If I
fine.
could just take the opportunity, Madam
Sure.
Chair, if I can, thank you for your comments and our opportunity to improve the process that we undertake. It's very important that minutes are reflective in regards to, if you're not in attendance at the meeting, that as a reader you can understand what transpired and what went on. And thank you also for your comments in regards to the actions resolution. That is also very important, even though that's not a public document, but even for an officer to understand and be across what has transpired at those meetings. So we thank you for that. And and certainly in regards to the CRMs, I'll have a bit of a look in that regard. I thought the process was around raising those virtually very quickly in regards to post the meeting, so we'll have a look in regards to our process to see if there's a problem there and how we can improve that. Thank you for raising those.
Thank you. So if there's no further questions regarding the outstanding meeting actions, we'll go to the review of upcoming agenda items report. There's not much listed here, so and I did take an action last meeting that I would work with Daniel Fletcher on populating this for future agenda items, but unfortunately there has been time and people have been away. So rest assured there will be more agenda items in future relating to the standing committee. Moving on to petitions. Michelle, are there any petitions?
No, that I'm aware of, Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you very much. Next agenda item, material personal interest, conflict of interest, personal gifts and benefits. Does anyone have anything they wish to declare? Thank you, nothing to declare. All right, moving on to the body of the standing committee being the 10.1 Library Strategy and Action Plan. Can I please ask Michelle to Kirsten, who is the Acting General Manager for Communities, to introduce Susan and Kira, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the Library Strategy and Action Plan 2019-2021 is the first of its kind, the first strategy and action plan. So the report presents the draft Library Strategy and Action Plan 2029-2021 for council endorsement. So I'll hand over to Suzanne now and we'll be able to go through that.
Thanks, Kirsten. So through the chair, the library team has been very busy putting the finishing touches on the Library Strategy and Action Plan. And as you can see in the copy that you've got with you today, it's been to the designer since you last saw it. This report presents that final draft of the Strategy and Action Plan for your endorsement. And as Kirsten said, there has not previously been a strategy in place to guide the operations and the future development of library services. So this is a very important document. This document will actually ensure that library services move ahead strategically rather than in the past where it's been a little bit ad hoc. And it will certainly help our libraries to perform in a stronger fashion and more strategically. And it will improve the services, programs and events to become more sustainable and increase the council and library services profile across our community. So I'll pass you now to Kira, Coordinator of Library Services, to provide some more information on the Strategy and Action Plan.
Thank you, Suzanne. Through the chair, Council's operational plan 2018-19 identified a need for a library service strategy and action plan. This document is also a requirement of our service level and funding agreement with State Library of Queensland. In preparation of this draft, strategies from other libraries were reviewed to ensure consistency with current best practice within the library industry. And existing strategic documents from council were also reviewed so that we could align with council's strategies. Extensive engagement and consultation was undertaken during the draft of this document. The stakeholders engaged with include library staff, council employees and the community via a survey that was conducted from the 20th of April to the 14th of May 2018. The survey was completed by 644 people, 96.6% of which were residents of the region. 5 priority areas were identified to provide a framework for delivery of the action plan. The priorities are library staff learning and training, library branding and marketing, library community partnerships, library events, programs and services, and library facilities. Through a focus on the 5 priority areas, library services will implement the strategy and action plan guiding their further development. This strategy meets council's operational plan goals and the requirements of council's service level agreement with State Library. With your endorsement, this strategy will ensure provision of contemporary and progressive library services that will elevate us to a level that Central Highlands would be competitive with best practice across the state and Australia. I'll now pass over to councillors to give consideration to endorsing this strategy.
I think the strategy is great, and the libraries are doing a very good job, and it's great to see the changes that are occurring in that library space. I've just got one question. It's really just around the funding from the State Library. So that's based on population numbers. Does it take into any consideration about the size of the region, or how decentralised, or the number of libraries that are within a region?
Not really, it's all based on the population. However, with the guidelines, we do have to meet certain criteria. So it does help us ensure consistency across the region, which is something we've been really focused on lately. It also means that we have to meet needs like internet access to the community, things like that. So from State Library standpoint, they actually do give us some leeway based on our locations and our demographics. So at the moment, as you're well aware, we do have some internet access issues within multiple branches. State Library has given us leeway because of our demographics and the issues that we're facing. So even though the funding doesn't necessarily change the amount, they do give us a little bit of, I guess, breathing space to operate.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
So Kerry, have you got any budget at all, like, that's assigned, like I noticed some of the targets are for like January 19, March 19.
So we are working from our operational budgets, and all of our submissions for capital and operational budgets are aligned with our strategy and action plan. So we don't foresee any massive impacts to budget because we would be doing this throughout our standard budgets that we are allocated.
And so the things that are those priority areas and those activities and targets and performance measures, those that are scheduled like for now and months gone by, are you on target with some of that stuff?
Yes. So we've actually already completed 2 audits and we have 3 on the go at the moment.
Yep.
So even though it's taken a while to get to this stage, we've been very proactive in ensuring that we do actually hit those targets. And our team across the entire region are volunteering to take charge and champion a lot of those projects that we're working on.
Through you, Madam Chair, and thanks, Kira, this is really exciting. Just, obviously that's really broadly and widely consulted, and would have been a great deal of fun to sit down and assess what those responses were. Any comments about that? What was generally sort of coming through those?
Honestly, I think from a library staff point of view, everyone was absolutely blown away by the additional comments that the customers gave. It didn't necessarily answer a question. We gave space for people just to share their thoughts and anything extra. And there were so many beautiful comments about the library staff and the fact that the facilities are there. Even if someone doesn't necessarily use them a lot, they find comfort in the fact that they know the library is always a safe place for them to go. And so the comments coming through were just absolutely amazing. And I think it reminded a lot of our staff who've been there for 20 plus years, this is why we do what we do.
So do you have any good ideas and suggestions that want to come out of those?
It was actually quite comforting to know that a lot of the suggestions already aligned with what our staff and council employees had already put forward. Obviously, we do have a few issues like use before the internet. Everyone knows that's a problem. Everyone's focused on that. But for additional ideas, everyone was already talking about STEAM and robotics, and the community have asked for that. So it lined up very well for our first ever document. Everyone was on the same page.
That's good, thanks, Jane.
Thank you. Okay, so, any further questions? So Councillor Bramblecombe? Moving, sorry. Moved by Councillor Bramblecombe. May I have a secondary? Councillor Godwin Smith. All in favour? Or show of hands, all in favour? Thank you very much.
But a huge congratulations, Kira.
Yes.
Because we kind of wrapped it up a bit fast, but I mean, all of the work that you guys are doing over there, and the libraries, you know, it got to a point where we were all, you know, we're at this point, we sort of, these spaces we know are important in the community, but we also know that they're transitioning into something really different. And, you know, I congratulate you on the community engagement aspect of this, and I love what you put together here. I think it's an exciting way forward for us in those spaces. And yeah, so big thanks to you and Suzanne and the team and everyone involved in putting this before council. You know, and good timing budget process. So hopefully we can look at resourcing some of those things, particularly around the technology side of things, to activate those spaces. Good on you.
Thank you.
Through the chair also, if I can just thank you for those comments, Councillor Godwin Smith, acknowledge Kira. It's not easy. Kira is an example of growing our own within the organisation, and it can be quite daunting to come into this chamber and address council. So well done, Kira. Just want to acknowledge the good job you just did there and good work. So
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hopefully you'll come back next year.
It was a very nice experience.
So moving on to our departmental updates, we'll first move into the community's departmental update. I'll hand over to Kirsten to introduce and speak to those updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I thought this month we'd focus on a bit of a range from the community's team. So of note of the 21 departmental updates, I would focus on the Smart City Community Framework, like Blackwater Banter newsletter, which was an initiative that came out of the Australia Day celebrations, renovations that are happening internally with the Art Gallery meeting room, youth development team, issue with illegal stock being removed from the impound at the sale yards last year, and then some good news stories in terms of the commencement of 2 trainees within the Ranger Services team, and then a future report that's coming in relation to waste. So as we learned last year, we tend to report on average once a month on waste. So we do have a report coming to strategy at the end of this month about some proposed changes that we're making across the waste facilities to ensure that our facilities are levy ready for the 1st of July. So we'll have more detail to come, but it's just putting it on the horizon that there will be a bit of discussion around that. In terms of the Smart City Framework, the draft community framework is now available for public feedback on the Have Your Say portal. So this is open from the 21st of January through to the 31st of March. Face-to-face engagements will be planned, but there will be dates and locations to be advised once they're all locked in. As discussed, the Blackwater Banter newsletter, so the first edition of this was released for February 2019. So this was launched during the Australia Day celebrations in Blackwater. So the community reference group have been heavily pushing this through their CRG meetings. There's been a bit of a refurbishment down at the Emerald Art Gallery meeting room, so just out the back of the building there. So the works that are being completed include a renovated kitchen with lockable cupboards, replace the carpets and a fresh coat of paint. So it's just an update that was a little bit overdue, so that's coming on. The youth development team, we're proud to announce that all of the positions within the youth development team have now been filled, which is exciting for that space. So I'm sure they'll be able to fast progress all of the action items within the action plan of the youth strategy. 2 new trainings started with Ranger Services. So in the last intake, we had 2 Ranger trainees, one which went on to be nominated for a state award at the Queensland Training Awards. And she's obviously still with us at CHRC. So we have 2 exciting new starters who were introduced 2 weeks ago to the team. So they're on the ground running, trying to learn everything that is Ranger Services, from animal management through to stock control. And that's it from the Community Standing Committee. If anyone had any questions, happy to take.
I just have some questions or more comments around the Capital Works program.
Sure.
There's a couple of items that relate to the Gemfields with the sealing of the Sapphire Pool car park and the dump point, so the relocation of the dump point. There's Gemfields, as we know, is a significant precinct for tourism, and I would hope that we could get those projects actually completed before the tourist season starts to really ramp up, which is really around that Easter time, because the location of those projects will actually create quite a bit of disruption for both campers and the community if they're being conducted during tourist season.
Through you, Madam Chair, the update there in relation to the Sapphire Pool car park. So the park staff are working with infrastructure services to deliver that project. So currently the project is waiting on the need for rain to provide adequate water in the area to assist with construction. So they have flagged that might be a concern. So if rain isn't received later this month, they will get a water truck in to facilitate the delivery of that project. They are aware of the tourist season and needing to get these projects delivered on time, but that's one of the, I guess, issues they have with that one. The second one, the new dump point. So we've requested approval from the Lands Department for the locating of the new dump point near the Gemfields transfer station prior to Christmas. Approval has not been received yet, so the manager of that area, Jared, is following up with him so that we can get that. So our hands are tied in that respect, because we need that approval to relocate that dump point.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Councillors, do you have any further questions regarding the report? If that's the case, can I please have a mover for the community's update? Thank you, Councillor Swiper, and a seconder was Councillor Brimble-Combe. A show of hands, thank you. All in favour? Thank you very much. So we'll move on now. Thank you for that update. We'll move on now to customer and commercial services, and I'll hand over to Michelle Webster to speak to that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to report this month in view that there was a double up of statistics provided to Council in the previous month. Sorry. Councillors will notice we've finished the recruitment of customer service team in Emerald and new supervisor and 3 customer service officers all working well. Obviously there's a lot of knowledge for them to gain, but very pleased with the recruitment in that regard. We also have some recruiting occurring for Capella office. There is 1 placement, and that's recently been located there as well. So Rebecca is also, sorry, just to acknowledge Rebecca's absence today, she's unwell, so we struggle on me to deliver the report, so I don't necessarily know all the details, but customer service satisfaction survey, I know she's working on that in regards to measuring some frontline service delivery between 1 February and 28th of February. And that will go across 6 branches, Emerald, Blackwood, Springfield, Rolleston, Carpentaria and Doringa. So that will be interesting information to come back to council. I know that they are very busy on their TOTO work, and we're also, as one of our improvement issues, also preparing a business case in regards to a knowledge management system, which is pretty critical for customer service, as a knowledge base for staff to refer to, not only in customer service, but it will be a very useful tool right throughout the organisation as well. So a business case is being prepared in that regard to go before the ICT committee. And we do have some work before council strategy and briefing, and which I don't think perhaps we got to yesterday in regards to an engagement and conversation with council in regards to your thoughts and the information you have from the community in regards to how we can improve our customer service as an organisation. You know that we staff rated customer service fairly well in our staff survey, around 80%, but not necessarily that we have the same sort of rating within the community. So it's important for us to measure that, but it's also important to have a conversation with council in regards to, as a conduit with our members of the community, how we can improve. That will be a multifaceted approach through many avenues, and I suppose the first part of that is developing framework. We're also, Rebecca will develop a report in the very near future to the executive leadership team in regards to the principle of first port of resolution within the organisation. And we're hoping that as the basis then to launch a number of business efficiencies throughout the organisation, focused on end-to-end resolution for a customer, focused on the customer as opposed to focused on our own internal needs. So certainly plenty of work going on within that section of council. We're happy to answer any questions that councillors may have, certainly.
Okay, thank you, Michelle, for providing that update. And if Rebecca's at home watching, she is. Get well soon. We hope to see you back soon. And so, if there's no further questions, can I please have a mover? Thank you for that report, Councillor Brimblecombe and Councillor McIntosh seconded, and a show of hands. Thank you. That's all in favour. Thank you very much, Michelle, for providing that report. Now, every month, at Council we like to do a focus area for just talk about one of the teams that sit within the communities department. So this month, the focus area is on arts and culture, and I'll hand over to Kirsten to introduce this and invite Karen and Suzanne.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, yeah, as discussed, we do like to focus on a key area within the communities department, the community standing committee. So this week we have the arts and culture update. So last year you would have seen more from the Connected Communities team and planning environment as well too. So I'll hand the floor over to Suzanne and Karen to go through their update.
Thanks very much, Kirsten, sorry. I'll actually just pass straight to Karen to give her presentation. So we'll just get that up on the screen first.
Yeah, I'll just so this is the arts and cultural presentation. Just explaining my role and a few of the things that I do with it. So the break.
I'm running it because that's frozen. So
Yes, it is frozen.
just look at it.
Thank you. So this is the arts, cultural and heritage delivery and how it's broken down. There's myself as the officer, and I work with the Central Highlands Arts and Cultural Advisory Committee, the Central Highlands Communities, and with state and professional departments to deliver on arts, culture and heritage for the region.
Next slide, please.
So, as Arts and Cultural Officer, I am responsible for planning and managing arts, culture and heritage by, sorry, there's some slow transitions in there, it's a bit difficult since it's frozen.
Yeah.
Promoting the identity of the region, contributing to community and cultural development, coordinating education and promotional events, activities and facilities. So it encompasses quite a range of different areas. I work very closely with the Central Highlands Arts and Cultural Advisory Committee, known as CHACAC or CHACAC. CHACAC is the Central Highlands Regional Council Central Highlands Regional Council Advisory Committee. It was established to encourage participation and optimum service delivery for council and communities in the fields of arts, culture, heritage for the region. So this is just a breakdown of the Central Highlands communities with the 13 areas shown, and just some photographs of a few of the community events that have been taken right across the region. This is the state and professional partnerships that I've been involved with in this year. So we just joined with the Central Queensland Regional Arts Services Network at the end of last year, but we're involved more with those within this financial year. So they're a new organisation formed by Arts Queensland. That's the photograph of the working group taken from the forum that we had down there. The other photograph is from the 150-year event at the Springshire Hospital Museum, and that's a partnership with the Central Queensland Museum Development Officer, Melanie Fido. So that's some of the partnerships that we're involved with. Slide, please. Key priorities: managing the Regional Arts Development Fund grant, and the partnership projects, consultation with local communities, prioritising key projects and capitalising on funding opportunities. So annually we develop and implement strategic planning, liaise and work with internal and external stakeholders, run community workshops, and develop organised projects and events which promote creativity, community participation and wellbeing. The key priorities for the financial year 18-19, couple of projects: the Emerald Arts and Culture and Heritage Precinct, the Emerald Art Gallery, Emerald Art Gallery Community Meeting Room, Virginia Bicentennial Art Gallery, so there's research, and implementation of the former Springshire Hospital Museum Conservation Management Plan. So all those areas are well. Next slide. That's how it links with the Creative Culture Future strategy. This is the operational programs, which is the Regional Arts Development Fund and Arts in August, the Central Highlands Arts and Cultural Advisory Committee and regular planning meetings and community engagement across the region, community partnership programs, projects and events, heritage management and gallery support. That's the linkages with the objectives within the Creative Culture Future strategy. Arts, culture and heritage is valued throughout the region. It reflects local identity, placemaking and enhances the livability in the Central Highlands. Central Highlands has 2 art galleries, 6 state heritage listed locations and 22 in our local heritage register. There are numerous arts, cultural and heritage organisations, groups and individuals, and many of the larger groups are in council-owned facilities. So that's a broad overview of the arts, cultural and heritage space. Questions? Oh, sorry, I missed the screen. Oh, so arts, culture and heritage is valued throughout the region, and Arts in August is a program that's promoted across the region annually. So that's a very hectic month through August. Oh, I've even forgotten the slideshow. So if you click that, massive money.
So Karen, just a query, do you work with tourism over at CHDC often?
Sometimes. Cultural tourism is part of like the arts, cultural tourism. Trying to be more of that.
And what about it with our parks and gardens? Do they involve you in any of their streetscaping or things like that?
It's not the streetscape, invited to the streetscape stuff.
Karen, sorry, can you start to speak up? We can't hear you. Maybe stop.
Yeah, maybe we'll wait till after that.
Oh, okay, then you haven't finished, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, I was mad.
Yeah, I thought you were over, sorry.
This is just a few highlights. These are just the pretty pictures. These are just pretty pictures. And different projects.
Recognise you.
Sorry, I even cut my own presentation short.
Councillor McIntyre, did you want to ask that question again?
No, I forgot what it was.
No, it was good. It was a good question, just so the live streamers can hear it as well.
It's just in regards to your involvement in the other components of livability and how essential arts is such a broad topic, and you know, it's important that you're involved in the. I guess I was asking, are you involved greatly with CHDC in tourism? And and also, you know, with our parks and gardens in regards to streetscaping, parkscaping, and so forth.
With the town beautification project, I've been invited into that, into the beautification projects I've been invited in. So parks and gardens, I've been involved with different projects across the region. The communication of some things that are happening, sometimes they don't always know if one's in for some projects. It's just getting that recognition, I think, about what other elements are in those sort of projects and the crossover. Historically, we had a fairly good relationship with Peter Rick formerly in the tourism aspect, and now that that's changed, it's a re-education of what can be achieved and what can be developed. So, yeah, cultural tourism is part of arts and culture and what's recognised by Arts Queensland.
Through the chair, I'd like to suggest a greater involvement from this sector in a lot of our community spaces. I just see that quite often we're very committed to jobs at hand at a grassroots level. We continually miss the target of what the likes of Karen is probably a little bit more clear of where we're going in a strategic dimension. And I just think maybe, you know, her involvement in a cross section of communities, parks, gardens, you know, parks, people, play type stuff could be vital to the livability of where we're going.
I agree. So Councillor McAvoy, would you like a resolution around that?
Yeah,
it's a way of.
I'm going to throw it open for a little bit more discussion because it's very difficult it becomes operational where
Yeah, I don't.
I'd like to reflect, maybe through Michelle, if you understand the.
Yep, I've made a note here, councillor, in regards to, and between Kirsten and myself, we will provide some information through to Daniel.
It's just that as you get, you know, a mower man or a park builder or a garden builder is there to build a garden. It doesn't elaborate on what we could do in the art, which are the linker nodes and the wader walls and all this sort of stuff. Karen's all over it, you can see that, and it's got the experience and the consistency or the continuance of longevity in our workplace and his understanding of where we want to take our communities. So
that was probably a bit evident yesterday in regards to the plan for the botanical gardens at the vicinity of the scar trees, that wasn't a consideration.
Yeah.
So that's probably a good example, isn't it?
And also the Works for Queensland gardens that are under construction at the moment, does that fall in line and could we better that in a way with other?
In the Blackwater.
The town entrance
And of course heritage, you'll be very much mixed up in the Blackwater heritage and cultural area without a doubt. That goes, I'm sure that would go without saying, but I think there's another level that we could offer ourselves and our experience with Karen.
That's fine. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for your report.
Thank you very much.
Just work on
That's what I'm thinking.
So
You went
just,
busy.
it really doesn't count, because like a bit of time up front often saves time later, doesn't it, you know? Yeah, so also just an update on the gallery space, that will be opening shortly. The Emerald Art Gallery has an exhibition just was set up over the weekend, and it is Elena, and I'll have to apologise because she has a Russian surname, so Chekhov. I won't even get there, but she's a beautiful person and a wonderful artist, and I believe there's been a lot of comment already on her work on the Emerald Award. So the exhibition that's currently down there is all her work. And it was a very quick exhibition set up. So the opening night will be on the 22nd of February.
Thanks, Karen. Hands up on that one.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Therefore, is noted then.
Yeah, we'll just note that,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Madam Chair.
So moving on to our general business. Does anyone have, I noted at the start, because I know Councillor McIndoe raised with me about what was discussed last meeting around the preservation of trees with regards to water restrictions in Elmwood and Blackwater. And there was a discussion in the last meeting about, the preservation of our green assets because they take so long to, they'll take years to re-establish. And I guess I wanted to understand, there wasn't anything noted in the minutes and there wasn't a resolution around it. And I just want to understand from the committee, do you want a resolution or to make sure that that occurs, or are we just going to leave it as noted and request that the communities department take that on board?
I can provide an update there.
Okay.
Yeah, so I liaised with Jared Bryant. He advised that the parks and garden staff have certainly been informed that there is a need to ensure that the trees are irrigated sufficiently despite the water restrictions to ensure that long-term aesthetics are maintained within the gardens and across all the parks within the community. So they do notice the sensitivity. Obviously, they've got to abide by water restrictions and maintain that compliance, but their focus is in ensuring the longevity of those the gardens and parks facilities, from the Emerald Botanic Gardens to the smaller pocket parks throughout the region. So they're doing what they can with the water restrictions to make sure those plants are sufficiently irrigated so that, we don't lose the tree because the watering times have to be reduced.
Doing what they can, or directed or instructed to continue the watering and the life of the trees in our open spaces, or they're just doing their best. I'm sorry, you mentioned they're doing their best, that's all.
Yes.
They will water.
They are watering them, and so there's certain, with the water restrictions, there are certain times that they've got to water, so they've got to monitor that and change the way they have been maintaining the landscape to fit in with the water restrictions. But their focus is on maintaining and preserving the green assets as we're referring them to.
I think we potentially should have a resolution regarding it. I understand if we go to level 5, we get to level 4, we're going to have to readdress it. Or maybe look at certain parks. But to me, if we're going to maintain people's enthusiasm and their belief in living here, we've got to keep our community spaces presentable. And if we were to not receive inflow into the dam this season, and go with our levels of water restrictions across the board, by next summer we're not going to have a very livable and happy community, and it's going to have a real detrimental effect on their emotions, I guess, and their well-being. So it's ridiculous, not ridiculous, it's hard to accept that we spend a lot of money, and we're spending a lot of money and making it a very, very nice, a lot of our areas very nice. We've opened up a recent policy where we can do some streetscaping and give permission community members to streetscape in their cul-de-sacs or in their streets, and now we're sort of taking that away. And I know we've got water restrictions, but there's still 12% there too. And there's a lot of water there that we do purchase. I'm not sure what it's restricted to. Mr. Mayor, you may be able to help. There has been a reduction recently from some water on our 100% of high priority.
There's been, since the announcement at the start of the water year on 1st July last year, which relates to this year, so it's on a financial year basis, the announced allocation for medium priority water is only 6%. In September it changed to 9%, due to swim flows back there. So currently any medium priority allocations are only 9%. and that won't change until the end of the year. There's been discussion about carryovers and the use of that. All of council's allocation, with the exception of obviously the Kingyao water, and I think some water out here with a little piece of land that we purchased next to the airport. I think we have 73 megalitres of water with the Kingyao block, there's 20 megalitres of water with this block, so there's only about 90 megalitres of medium priority water. The other 5,700 megalitres is high priority water. So under the high priority arrangements, we're in the first year of a guarantee of 100%. And then under the delivery arrangements for the second year, given that there'd be no inflow or changes to the current levels, the carryover component, or sorry, in our carryover component, there's been a discussion that allocation might be between 35 and 65% next year. So in fact, with the greatest respect, I mean, we are always constantly aware of what the forward-going water usage is. Parks and gardens, as I understand it, have been instructed to obviously, certainly in a lot of cases where we're not metering all of it, we obviously are doing that prudently and taking your comments on board. I think the reality is that it's about managing it and managing the same as the community is. So effectively, notwithstanding what we want to achieve, I guess, with our public spaces and our general appearances to those communities who rely on that water, council's usage should be reflecting what we're asking our community to do, and that's what they're doing. And I think they're doing a pretty critical job around doing it. And that obviously is about maybe adjusting plantings and the program going forward until such time as we have got, I guess you'd say, some inflow to give us more certainty in the future. But what this highlights is probably a better, I suppose, review of our management is: are we doing enough in our spaces and the sorts of planning we're doing and how we do it? We've got to make sure that we're conscious of the fact that there are going to be times, and this happened in 2007 and it's happening now. It might happen again several times, but we've got to be very conscious about when we're trying to structure our water policies and our pricing, that we're being very conscious of exactly what we have and what we can use.
Through Council I was just going to say pretty much what Terry said. Like, a lot of private people spend a lot of money on their gardens as well, and if they've got to abide by water restrictions and lose all their trees, I think they wouldn't be very acceptable of council. And I do understand that a bit of green space does make you feel a lot better, particularly in hard times, but I certainly don't think it is a resolution that we're looking at moving away from anything. Perhaps a report back to council on how they're going to manage the parks and gardens moving forward. Maybe that may be something we could look at having. Yeah, but no, Kirsten, do you think that might be an idea, or?
Councillor, just to respond, Shellon has produced in consultation with the, there's a resolution up on the screen in that regard in relation to a report.
Perhaps a set suggestion, councillors.
And further to, or whatever you're adding there, something rather than just a report we presented, we have a strategy report or a strategy, not a strategic plan, but just something that falls in line. Like if we end up at level 4 or level 5, what are we going to do with the flying foxes in the rainforest, for example? Are we going to keep water in the rainforest? Which ones are we going? Which parks are we going to
let go?
What streets? We're going to let all those boabs die, or are we going to let all the, which ones? Are we going to be planting trees on Plant Australia Day this year? All these sorts of, because it's getting that way that we're not going to potentially get an inflow.
I came to the chair then. Can I clarify with you, Councillor McIntyre? If you were talking a strategy, I don't think that's a significant body of work. Very large body of work identifying when you're talking about, what boabs in what streets, I would think that, I'm not saying that we can't do that, but that's not something we could undertake to provide that to you at the next meeting. Are you satisfied perhaps in regards to changing the wording here instead of regards to council's approach in maintaining, regards to council's strategy in maintaining? Or are you wanting, I mean, I need to clarify, are you wanting a strategy developed in that regard? And then that will take a considerable period of time.
I don't, I was just going to say, I don't think we need it in that depth. I just think we're looking for a document that basically says, we will maintain gardens and, green spaces, we'll maintain green spaces within, something like that. That trees will take top priority over garden beds or something to that description. I think the trees are the most important thing. The other thing I was just going to comment on as well is that we shouldn't be looking at increasing at this point in time our garden beds and those rock formations, which I've had a lot of public comment on, near the service station and out. Number one, I think they're nice. Yeah, I believe they're an eyesore, but I believe they were meant to be for garden beds. I would like to think that at this point in time, we wouldn't be progressing with any new garden beds that we've got to maintain.
Through Madam Chair, the rock formations, they form part of the town entrance projects, which was work for Queensland grant, so we've given $500,000 total, so they've been progressing prior to the water restrictions. So with that, the plans that can be circulated to you, we can get them later on today. But they have obviously water sensitive plants getting planted within them, and then the rock formations, the landscaping that's around that has to be sensitive obviously to our climate.
I've just had a lot of negative feedback in the community about those.
I do believe the CEO's passed on to the general manager some feedback in that regard.
Yeah.
And that occurred at the previous council meeting.
Yeah, and we should have those plans later on today. So thank you.
Okay, where are we going with this? And there's a resolution in front of you. Could everyone please read that? So it's that a report be presented to the Community Standing Committee in regards to Council's approach in maintaining significant trees, plants and green spaces in Council's regional open space areas during the current dry conditions, taking into account current and future water restrictions and potential future water restrictions.
Speak against it. All we're doing there is asking for a report to come back. We're not giving a direction. There's a chance that it won't get up and it'll end up in general business, either in the main council meeting. We're just looking at getting a report on what approach we're taking. We're not giving a direction.
Yeah,
so to me, that's a resolution means more work.
So you may
We've
have
already given them the management direction, and there's some management direction that they're looking after. I think we just keep an eye on it and see what happens when we get level 2 or 3. Would that be fair?
Just through the chair, I just suggest an update. I'm sure that Parks and Gardens crew are working on a strategy for sure. And can you get an update about what is the strategy around the maintenance, potential watering and management of the plants over a period of time?
Okay.
You can articulate your concerns about whether that's an up or not an up or priority at that time, but get an update first and then you can deal with it.
Okay.
So we'll just make a note of the discussion within general business about the resolution.
So just change the report to update if you want.
A resolution? Okay.
Update be provided.
Update.
The next community standing committee.
Okay. The resolution's there in front of you, councillors. Can I please have a mover for that resolution? Councillor McIndoe. A seconder?
Yeah, I'll have a second.
Thank you, Mayor Hayes. Show of hands, please. Councillor Mackin, are you all in favour? Thank you very much. Okay, lovely. Any further general business?
Couple questions. Spraying of grass weeds within the Goa River, as in Lyman Hackney, that's ranges, but I noticed it's in between the botanical gardens. Do the maintenance people within the gardens also spray or not?
Through you, Madam Chair, so the Hackney spraying on the river commenced last week in conjunction with DAF in relation to the Hackney along the river area. The weed spraying does have to occur within the urban areas by the Parks and Gardens team, so I can confirm with them that that's occurring presently, but it is their role to undertake weed spraying within the urban area.
Okay.
I can follow up and double check that.
And the area in between the botanical gardens and the top weir, who maintains that area, or is that a separate area? Not part of council's area?
I'll have to double check that and get back to you.
This is a large amount of parking zone here in that area. So.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Hayes, do you have?
No, I just wanted to add to that. I think there's been subsequently, we're not under embargo, but just that the Federal Minister for Agriculture, who unfortunately couldn't actually make the luncheon last week, an appointment to actually make that announcement here about federal government funding for weeds, around weeds particularly. There's a $2 million fund there that I guess all local governments are probably equally those ones that are eligible, and I think there's 7 or 9 councils. You can actually check it on the government website that's linked to that. But certainly the Central Highlands is included in that. So there's a $2 million project there. I think obviously our projects, the maximum is $1 million. Not suspecting one that everyone's going to grab that, but there is, that's the first, well, I shouldn't say that is a meaningful contribution from the federal government about being aware of that. And I think as Deputy Gale outlined in her response and her apologies for not being able to be there, was that certainly when it does rain here, and certainly in lots of places in regional Queensland, you are going to see a significant weed outbreak, and it certainly is a very timely reminder that whilst we're in dry time, you can't see that there will be certainly after a period of heavy grazing, after a dry spell, there will be obviously weed populations right across not only our region but several regions. So we should, I would imagine, that through our range of services and certainly through the committee that we just set up for our Regional Services Committee,
Rural Services
Committee, that obviously that opportunity should be made aware to them, and if there are some projects, they should be thinking about that.
That, through Madam Chair, that funding round closes Friday next week.
Yeah.
It's a very quick turnaround. So previously, we weren't eligible to apply for previous funding rounds because Central Highlands is no longer drought declared. They removed that, exclusion for regions like ourselves to be eligible for these funding rounds. So it was released just before Christmas, and unfortunately the Minister couldn't be here on Friday to make the announcement, but the Rangers are working on their application to that, get it in. When it is, it's due next week. So
well, I was going to raise that in general business today because that's something that I stumbled on in the last 24 hours when I clicked on the link to the application guidelines, that it opened on the 21st of December and it closes on the 15th of February. So here is it, we got a letter from the Minister while you're on, it's been the end part of your leave, but within the last fortnight, and he's up here announcing it, and it's just about closed. So it's a little bit frustrating, really, but my point for raising it in the general meeting would be to just see where everyone's at in relation to, being able to find something, and I'm sure there is something that we can submit. And I suppose the other thing, the funding is directed for pest and weed impacts in drought areas, but a lot of those impacts aren't really seen. You can't spray a weed that hasn't grown, like it's that dry. So, it is for vertebrate pests as well. So, and I mean, you know, we still have a problem with pigs and other species, but unfortunately for weeds, we know we're going to have a problem with them, but it has not rained yet. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's a bit of a challenge, this one. It's a bit frustrating, really. I mean, the concept's great, but I'll be really, and I will raise it in the general business section of the general meeting, but I would be really keen to hear back from Ranger Services in relation to what sort of things they think that we might be able to submit. And again, you know, the concept of us having a rural services meeting and that connectivity to those networks would have been perfect to sort of coordinate an application of this nature, but the late notice is not helpful, so.
No, definitely not. And we're very grateful that we've been in, well, the exclusion of drought affected areas has been removed to allow us to apply, but yes. We'll do what we can to get a submission in definitely. We're certainly not going to knock back a grant opportunity, so it just, unfortunately, the level of detail, we did meet with Fitzroy Group 2 weeks ago, so they came out from Rockhampton to introduce themselves to us, and we were talking about it in that meeting, and just the amount of detail that's required for this grant funding opportunity is incredibly detailed. And it's, the time frame is certainly not on our side, but we'll do what we can to tap into any funding source.
Thanks.
Councillor Gordon-Smith, do you have that noted here, or would you like to raise it again?
Well, I was going to put it in the general meeting. I thought that would be the appropriate fit.
Okay.
Because it's a federal government funded program. So I'll leave it. It's just a comment for now, but I think it can be good to capture it. Okay. Yeah, that was my intention.
Great. I'll hold any comment in these minutes. Thank you. Any further general business? Councillors? Thank you very much for that. So we've got no late agenda items or closed agenda items. So if there's nothing more to discuss, I'll now close the meeting. Thank you at 11:25.
Really? I might turn off my microphone.